Too loud?
Turn that music down.
There we go. There we
Boost yourself if you can.
go. How about this? Is this better? I don't know.
Just a little bit. Get rid of the music.
All right, we'll get rid of it. Man, we keep trying.
We'll figure out that EQ status here soon.
One of these days, it's gonna work.
All
like
right,
it's
roll that
supposed to.
intro one more time.
Should we do it?
No. Next time.
So can you hear me okay then?
Yes, I can.
All right, good, good. What's going
What's
on,
up,
man?
everyone?
It's been a while.
It has been, a couple weeks? You've been flying everywhere, you pilot.
I know. I do that sometimes. It's
Envious.
been busy the past couple of months. I've been to India. I've been to India. Oh, I went to India. And then I went to Tokyo. That was fun.
Yep. That was the last trip.
Yeah, that was my last trip. And actually, I got a couple of really cool Japanese whiskeys I'm kind of excited to try. I was doing a lot of research on what kind of whiskeys to get from Japan. And
What you got?
there's a ton. And so one thing you got to be careful with, we were talking about it earlier, that I was doing some research, is there's not a whole lot of regulations. So you got to be careful if you're going to buy Japanese whiskey because there's no regulations. So they can pretty much brew something that looks like whiskey, slap it in a bottle and call it whiskey. Or they can actually buy it from another country and then put their label on it and say, hey, this is a Japanese whiskey. So, but what I got is something called, I believe you pronounce it Tagashi. And this is a blended whiskey. And
I like the bottle.
Yeah.
That's a
so
cool
the
bottle.
bottle's pretty cool. So I don't know actually even what it looks like inside. So I hope it's not some like funky juice or something.
That's fine.
So this is actually brewed around Hiroshima.
I think it's pronounced Hiroshima, but I don't know. I guess
Okay.
it depends on where you're from, right?
Maybe. So it's brewed. That's where the brewery is. This one actually they brew it there, but then they also buy bottles, or not bottles. They buy buckets or the barrels. That's what I was trying to think of.
Okay.
They buy barrels from Scotland and then they blend it with their own whiskeys. So they actually, it's on the bottle somewhere that it talks about. Well, it's all in Japanese, but it's in here. They actually talk about that they blend it with other countries. And then I actually got another bottle that I don't know. I kind of want to try. Well, I'm going to try the Tagashi tonight.
Okay.
But I got another bottle. It's called Fuji San Roku. And what that means, it translates to the foot of Mount Fuji. And so take a wild guess where this is brewed.
At the foot of Mount Fuji.
Oh my goodness.
Just-
How in the world how did you get that?
I have no idea.
Dang.
I don't know.
You
The
must
irony
know
escapes me.
You must know about Japanese whiskeys.
I do enjoy Japanese whiskey. I started getting into Japanese whiskeys this year.
Did you?
My friend Zach, he really kind of raved over it, and so I tried it. Really good. Naki is really good. Hibiki, I think is what it's called, is something that he really raves over.
Yep. Yeah, that's a popular one. There's also another popular brand, and they have some different ones. It's called Suntory.
I think I've seen it, but I'm not familiar with it, or at least I haven't tried it. I'm very new to the Japanese whiskeys.
Yeah, same here. I'm still learning about them, but nonetheless, I can't wait to pour this one. What are you drinking?
All right, so tonight I need a little bit of a pick-me-up, so I'm having some coffee. And I have a Connolly's Irish cream kind of going into it, just to kind of give it a little bit more life, because I hate coffee straight as it is for the most part, but I deal with it. And then I added Basil Hayden's new toast, and it goes really well with this because it has a sweet caramel finish, so it just kind of sweetens the flavor of the coffee and everything. It's really good. I'm really, really enjoying this, as you can see. And I got this maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Absolutely delicious.
You sure it wasn't just 2 days ago?
That's between us, man.
Yeah, who's counting, right? Well, I just took a sniff of this one. It actually smells pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's really light. Check how light that is.
It's almost like watered down.
Yeah. So, well, cheers to another episode.
Cheers to another episode, episode 6. So everyone
Yeah.
that's just joining us, we really appreciate you joining us. If you enjoy a good glass of whiskey or a pint of beer, whatever your flavor is, even a good wine, cheers to you and joining us. Because tonight we're going to talk about refinance. That's a very common question that we're getting a lot of these days, and even last year. When the market pretty much kind of closed and interest rates really dived. A lot of people have been really refinancing. And I'm actually going refinancing in my house right now.
How are you?
And so this seemed like a kind of very perfect topic for us to discuss and kind of get everyone on board and kind of answer that question if they've had it, like, should I refinance? And so we're going to go through that tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've done 2 refinances in my lifetime, and when I did, it wasn't something I just jumped into. It was a thought out process. I really kind of crunched the numbers to make sure, you got to make sure that it's going to make sense for you. I wasn't doing a cash out refinance. We'll talk about what that is here in a little bit. But I wasn't doing anything like that. I was strictly just lowering my monthly payment along with the interest rate.
Yep.
So,
and that's one of the reasons too why a lot of people do refinancing is to lower that payment. But there's some other reasons why, and we're going to get into that here shortly. Yeah. And I think some of the first things that we kind of really want to show is stats of the historical mortgage rates and how they've gone over the past couple decades. So, Jared, do we have that up?
Well. So in my lack of preparedness, that is the one thing that I forgot to bring up. But let me find the chart and then let's see.
Okay. Well, while he's doing that, so interest rates. Okay, so real estate didn't start collecting stats and statistics and until probably about the 1970s is when the interest rates of this chart that we're pulling up was about 1971. But real stats were starting commonly getting collected until the 90s. And so what we're going to show you is just on a historic level how high it got and how bad it got. And then where it is now. And then even going forward, because the Fed has already announced a couple times that interest rates will start going back up because we have to. We're in the middle of a huge inflation. We're just in the beginning of it, really. Right. And so we need to start increasing the interest rates so we can start pulling some of that money out. At least that's my logic behind it all. If I'm right, awesome. If I'm not, please correct me. So interest rates are going to go back up. And we're going to show you just how bad it got. And where even though it is going back up, you're going to still see it's in a really good position historically. So, Jared, that should have given you some time to pull up the chart.
That should have given me more than enough time.
This is where everyone just takes a lean back and just sips to whiskey.
You know what? Yeah, just take a couple sips. And all right, so all I got to do now is just share my screen. It's not the one that I wanted to show you guys, but this is the one that I have up, and let's see, I'll just share the Chrome tab. There we go. Where'd it go?
Wrong tab.
Hey man, I told you I was not prepared.
Okay.
All right, so can you see this?
Yes, we can.
That's about as big as I can get it. So
okay, we can't zoom in on that?
You know what, I probably can. Let's see. How about right there?
All right, that's good enough.
Okay.
So
this chart here, so it dates back all the way back to 1971. So, okay. And so you can.
And that's the lower graph, everyone. The bottom numbers is the years, and the left number going up is pretty much the interest rates.
Correct. So back in 1971, and this is all data that you can find. I forget which website. It's out there. If you just do a search on Google for historical interest rates, mortgage interest rates, it's pretty easy to find. But I took it and then I translated it into a graph. So you can see back in 1971, it was almost 8%. And so as we progress, and then right there in the beginning of the 80s, look at that. Almost like 17%.
Yeah, it looked like it just cusped over 17%
Yeah,
for a
isn't that
couple of years,
crazy?
and then it just gradually went down, and it had a couple of spikes. Even in the late '90s, interest rates looked like they were about 5%, and then just
Right,
over time, it just came down.
right,
And so, as you can see, anytime it starts going up at this point, historically, it's in a better time now than it was
yep,
back then.
yep,
Because it always get worse.
right.
It's always get worse. And
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
historically this year, the lowest that I've seen it for a client was almost 2.5%, for a client of mine. And I'm like, I am so jealous because my interest rate is 3.25%. And
okay.
since we're refinancing, we're getting it down to 2.99. And there's another
Dang.
reason behind it. The
Right,
reason, not just so much as the interest rate, which is great, but also the payment. We're going to get further into it.
right.
Kathy has a question. Will adjustable rate mortgages become popular? I really, I
I
don't
don't
know.
think so. Not
I
right
don't think
now.
so.
Um,
There are some people who find it more beneficial to do it at this time, but I don't
yeah,
know.
I don't see them becoming popular while the interest rates, the 30 and the 15 year, and you can even do like a 20 year in some
Hmm.
cases, depending on who you're working with. But because the interest rates are so low, I don't see 5/1 arms right now becoming popular. They're usually more popular when the interest rates are higher, from what I've seen, just because you're going to get that fluctuation on the interest rate. So instead of locking in for the next 30 years, 6%, 7% interest rate, the 5/1 arm is going to fluctuate a little bit. So you may be up there, and then it may drop down below what the normal rate is. But man, if
I don't know.
if it was me
Guess as good as me.
if it was me refinancing, I'm gonna go with the more traditional 15, 20, or 30 year. And I've
Yeah.
even and what's crazy is I've seen some 40-year mortgage or mortgages. That is a long time
That's a
to
very long
pay
time.
to pay on a
I don't
mortgage.
think.
I don't recommend it unless you are disciplined to pay more than what the minimum payment is. So you'd look at it. I look at it like a credit card. I mean, if you're just making the minimum payment, you're going to pay a boatload of money in interest. But if you're making more than the minimum payments, then then it's not as bad, and you can
Mhm.
cut that 40-year mortgage down to a 30-year or a 20 or a 15 or however depending on your extra payments. So, but like I said, you got to be disciplined to do something like that. I
Yeah,
don't
you
recommend it
you would
for
have to have a
everybody.
solid a financial plan or
Yes.
strategy in mind to
Yep.
be able to do that, like
Correct.
just to take advantage of this interest rates. And you know, the one of the biggest types of mortgages, the biggest most common is going to be the FHA, and that comes with mortgage insurance premium. And that right there, that loan is the number one reason I would say you should be refinancing, to get rid of that mortgage insurance premium,
Hmm.
because that's just a mortgage rate that's just slapped on. That insurance premium is just slapped onto there, and it
Hmm.
could really increase your mortgage payment by over $150 easy. And
Yeah.
then reducing that and reducing your interest rate will save you 150. So for me right now, for Bethany and I, we're saving $189 per month.
Oh
So
wow.
our not only is our interest rate being reduced, we're getting rid of the mortgage insurance premium, and we're going to be saving $189 a month. So you could take the $189 a month and go spend it whatever you want on. That's great. But if you continue making that same payment that you were, that $189 goes straight to principal, and now you are paying more on principal than you are on the interest rate. Because the
Right.
first several years of a loan is pure interest rate, and you can go on to your loan provider. They should have a good enough customer service website to where you can play with the slider and it show you
Yep.
just how much interest you're paying. And it's
Yep.
typically for a loan. So I'm gonna give you an example, which is my house. So our loan was 242,500,
Hmm.
and the interest rate essentially is $600 of our 1446 monthly payment $600 of 1446 is going straight to interest, and only 400 or so is going to actual principal. And it's going to be like that for literally about 15 years or so. And it sucks seeing how much money goes to principal. Sorry, it goes to interest beforehand.
Yeah.
So getting rid of the FHA, converting to a conventional, refinancing, lowering the interest rate, and getting rid of that mortgage insurance premium is probably the most common, because the most common, usually 32% of first-time home buyers use FHA. So that's a huge chunk of the market of buyers.
Yeah.
That needs to do that.
Yeah.
What's another reason?
Even not on FHA, even if you have a conventional, you could still have some mortgage insurance that you might want to knock off. So, yeah, and that goes with that 80%, 20% ratio. So when you have, 80% of the loan
to value, yeah,
then that's when your mortgage insurance will go away. And typically it depends on the bank.
Sometimes they do it automatically, but sometimes you have to actually apply for it and say that you have that LTV, that loan to value ratio, in order for it to drop.
Right. Let's see. Let me get rid of that there. So, as far as when you're looking at refinancing, so like I said, this is not something that you just want to jump into. You don't want to just say, hey, interest rates are low, I should refinance. That's not always, the case, just because interest rates are low. So, basically, I came up with a few questions that you should really ask yourself. Go ahead.
I was going to say, before we get into that, because there's like three types of mortgages. I really just hammered the FHA. Conventional is another thing. So say if you bought your house, say 4 or 5 years ago, or even really 2 years ago, your interest rate is probably in the high 3s, if not 4s.
Right.
So you can essentially take this opportunity and refinance it just to reduce your rate. So you don't necessarily have that mortgage insurance premium already. You just have the private mortgage insurance, so PMI. So, but you don't necessarily have to worry about that. But you can reduce that interest rate, and that is for the conventional. And then the third one is a cash out refi. So essentially, when you have enough equity in your house, you have to stay in that loan to value ratio, and your lender or the bank, whoever you're doing, is going to explain that. And so say if you have $100,000 worth of equity and your interest rate is say 4%, and you can get that interest rate down to a 3%, and you want to tap into that $100,000 worth of equity, you can do that with a cash out refi. And you can play with that $100,000 for the most part. It just depends on that LTV again. And so you can use that money however you want, because it's your money. And you can upgrade the house. You can invest in another property, which I highly advocate for, or whatever you wish to do. Go play, spoil yourself, go on vacation, buy a car. So those are the three things.
Right.
Get rid of FHA and transition to conventional. High interest rate and conventional, and reduce the interest rate. And then cash out refi. Those are the three biggest things.
And the cash out refi, I mean, I've not done one of those, but typically people do that to. Sometimes they want to consolidate some loans, or they want to do some work on the house. People use it to pay off credit cards, because it's you figure if you've got credit card debt, you're paying 20-25% on that debt. So now if you do a cash out refi, you're essentially pulling out money at a 3%, 2.99 as you got it, Chris. So now you're borrowing that money at 2.99%, almost 20% cheaper than what you were getting it, and you pay off credit cards, pay off loans, or whatever you need to, and now you're just paying that low interest rate on that same money. Yeah,
think of it as a debt consolidation, and it's a beautiful thing. It really is. And there's also what's called a Heloc, and I want to get to that at the very end, because that's not exactly what we're talking about here when it comes to refinancing, because that's what we're talking about, refis.
Right.
But that cash out, you can you're consolidating all your loans, because that was the original idea for Bethany and I, was to actually do a cash out refi, because we bought our house in the beginning of last year. We have developed so much equity into the house over the past year that I was like, we should do a cash out refi, pay off your car, my car. I got some other stuff. You have some other stuff. And then, so instead of paying like you said, 24% interest rate, a 7% interest rate for a car, a 4% interest rate for a car, and like whatever miscellaneous stuff. Consolidate it all into one 3% interest rate.
Yeah.
Sure, that's how much money you're saving in the long run.
Yeah. And don't lie, you took a little bit of that money. You guys are gonna have some fun, right?
Hey man, I got a wedding coming up and a honeymoon. So
Hey, there you go. So refinance your house and get married.
there it is. There it is. Brilliant.
That's how that works, right?
Excellent.
Brilliant.
So what are the three questions?
So the three questions. So when you're looking at when I did it, and I'm sure when you did it, Chris. So there's a few questions. What is my goal? So is it to lower, what we've already talked about, lower your interest rate, cash out, lower your payments? What is your ultimate goal? The second one is, can I afford the cost of refinancing? So that's kind of a weird one, because a lot of people, they forget that there's costs to getting a new loan. And a lot of times the lenders they'll take those costs and then they'll tack it on to the back end of the loan. So theoretically, you're not paying anything up front. So yes, you can afford it, but you are paying for it, whether it's in the beginning or at the end. So you do have to watch out for that. So don't let those sneaky marketing tricks, rope you into that kind of stuff.
I think the most important question, Jared, correct me if, or speak up if I'm wrong here. The first question you have to ask yourself if you're going to refi is honestly, how long do I intend on living in this house? Is it 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Right.
That should be your first question. How much longer am I going to live in this house?
Yep. Yeah. So that, from what I've seen on most, is somewhere that 5-year mark is where that break-even point is. And that kind of depends. I see a comment you got.
Solid advice, Derek.
He posted, let's put it up here.
Yeah.
So spend more on their honeymoon than you do on the wedding. Just words of advice.
Yes, sir. That's why I'm doing a mini moon first, and then a major honeymoon in like March, April time. So
a mini moon, all right.
Yeah, we're calling it a mini moon.
Are you guys going anywhere good?
Yes, absolutely. You got to go somewhere good. Okay. So the day after the wedding, Bethany and I are flying to Key West, and then from Key West we're going to be there for about 4 or 5 days, and then come March of next year is going to be our big hurrah, our big one. So
very cool. Well,
great words of advice, Derek.
I'll look for my invite.
No. Okay, where were we? Back on track.
So the break-even point. So typically, after 3 years, or if you plan on being there for 3 years, then you could consider it, but you really got to crunch the numbers to figure out. But you're kind of pushing.
You might break even.
You might, depending. If like I said, you really just got to crunch the numbers, because if you're going from a really high interest rate to a really low interest rate, you might only need 3 years to break even. Typically, people are when they refinance, they're probably dropping about 1%, maybe 1.5%, depending on the time, what the interest rates are and what yours is, so on.
Well as your credit, and because you think about it, when you bought your first house, you had to go through debt to income ratio, and you had to pull your credit worthiness. Same thing applies for a refi. It's just not. I don't want to say invasive. It's just not long of a process. It doesn't take 30 days. It takes a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yep. So what we're talking about, so that's kind of one of the other questions that you want to ask yourself before you get into refinancing is, will I actually qualify to refinance? So, a lot of, most people, they can qualify for a refinance, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the best rate. So, it depends on your credit score. When you go to the mortgage broker or you go to a lender, bank, or whatever it is, first thing they're going to do is they're going to pull your credit and see what your credit score is. And then that's going to determine what your interest rate's going to be. All your income and all that kind of stuff, that comes later. But typically it's just your credit score that's going to determine your interest rate. And obviously the lower the credit score, the higher the interest rate. The higher the credit score, the lower the interest rate, typically. So that's the other main question that you got to ask is, am I going to qualify? So I don't know what I'm not a lender. I don't know what they look
Huh.
for. I know on new loans, it's somewhere on if you're getting an FHA, I think it's like a 680 credit score. They may have even dropped it a little bit. I can't remember.
Uh,
You,
well, before the pandemic, there were people getting qualified around the 540, 550 range. And then when the pandemic hit, the industry lenders had to be smart, and they really, because people's jobs were hanging in the balance,
yeah,
so they really bumped it up to about 680 or 640, I think it was, at least in our region,
yeah,
which is Central Florida.
yeah,
So where it is now, I think it is starting to open up and lax more. Job security is becoming a thing, kind of, with the massive layoffs. So it's just it's kind of hanging in the balance. Everything's, our market is very volatile right now. Like
right.
the not so much as real estate. Real estate's pretty solid. It's the market, like the investment, Dow Jones and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
All that's very volatile right now.
Yep. Yep.
But typically, if you already have a house and you've maintained good credit and you're able to maintain a job and you were able to maintain your debt to your income ratio, so essentially not continuing to open new lines of credit where you're maxing out credit cards, you should be able to qualify for a refinance in relatively in a
Right.
good way, in a positive way. But it really goes back to that first question. It's like, how long am I staying here?
Right.
Because you have that recoup time. The recoup time is about 3 years, depending on what it is that you're getting. And the lender, you can ask the lender or your bank or your current loan providers, like, how long will it take to recoup this cost,
Mm-hmm.
and then save it from there. So if you're looking at 5 years, 10 years, the recoup time is anywhere between that, you've made a smart financial move, and it makes sense to do so. If
Yep.
you're staying within that time, or if the lender says, it doesn't make sense,
Mm-hmm.
then, don't do it.
Right.
So, but if you don't know just yet, if you're kind of like just wondering, like, am I going to stay here? You haven't quite decided, but you want to take advantage of the interest rate, I'm going to let you be the judge of that.
Yep.
To each their own for that.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Again, it's a case by case
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. So.
Yeah. And no scenario is the same.
Right.
No one's scenario is the same. Real
Yep.
estate for buyers or sellers or refinancing is the same. It's
Yep.
just not.
Yeah. And just to throw it out there, I mean, Chris and I aren't mortgage brokers. We don't, we're not lenders, anything like that. So
Mhm.
if you have, you can ask us questions. We'll help guide you in the right direction. But if you really want to know specifics on whether or not, you should refinance, I mean, reach out to a mortgage broker
Mhm.
or a lender or something like that, because they'll give you specifics on what they require. And each lender is going to be a little bit different on what they
Mhm.
require as far as credit scores.
Yeah.
They may not go down to the 640 or the 680 or whatever. They may just work with higher credit,
Yeah.
credit scores.
But they could stick to the middle ground. It's just, it doesn't hurt to shop. It doesn't. It does
Correct.
not hurt to shop. Your credit's gonna get pulled, but it's not like getting a car loan, all right, where it just hits your credit, hits your credit, hits your credit, hits your credit, and it hurts.
Yep.
Because the three credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, they understand that you're refinancing, you're purchasing, and as a consumer, you have the right to shop without any hindrance.
Correct.
So talk to a mortgage broker, talk to a lender,
Right.
talk to a bank, and then also talk to your own loan provider.
Right.
Like talk to your own loan service provider, because a lot of times they want to keep your business,
Mhm.
and then they'll give you a good rate, or
Yep.
they'll like find some way to help you out.
Yeah.
And
That's very true. So I actually just did. So last year when they were doing that forbearance, during the pandemic, most of the lenders or all of them, I think they were offering that forbearance program to where you could forego paying your mortgage for. I think I don't know if it's still going on or if it's ended all across the board.
So I don't know. Evictions are up, so the forbearance program should be up. I haven't seen any new articles come out, but
Yeah.
the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, has already warned lenders that are under federally backed loan providers, or like so Fannie Mae, Freddie
Right.
Mac, and things like that, they have already been warned for those who are in forbearance to work with them, whether it be
Yep.
restructuring your loan
Start transitioning
or
to.
start transitioning or roll that back payments in. That's not forgivable. Like that's
Right.
there's no way in
Yeah.
hell that's forgivable. They're gonna get that money
Why
back.
not?
So the biggest people who are going to be honestly drastically affected by the forbearance program is those who have private lenders or private
Yeah.
mortgage holders, mortgage note holders, because if you cannot pay that difference, so if you didn't pay your mortgage for 16 months,
Mm-hmm.
that private mortgage provider is going to ask for that entire 16 months. And if you don't have it, they're going to foreclose on your house. So
Right.
in order to prevent that, honestly, go refinance, even if it's a higher
Yeah.
interest rate,
Yeah.
just so they don't foreclose on your home.
Yeah.
Some people just get so scrambled and they just unfortunately don't know the process that they can go and refinance and save their home,
Yeah.
even if it's a higher interest rate.
Yeah. Or they're just nervous about the outcome, or they're sometimes. I mean, this happened to me on some on some stuff, and it was just, even if say you fall behind, and the embarrassment factor. I mean, you're like, you don't want to call somebody and say, hey, I can't make the payment.
That's true.
You want to be able to make the payment, and then it just keeps going and going and going to where you haven't done anything, and that's it's just a bad situation.
Yeah,
But
you shouldn't. You have to.
You have to rectify it. So my bank in particular, so I did the forbearance program, and then they offered a couple of programs where you could refinance it. You could do a loan modification. So that was the other thing, which is sort of like a refinance, but it stays with the same lender. Actually, they gave me a better interest rate, so they lowered my interest rate.
Because they want the money to keep going. Like you can't.
Right.
The economy is a spinning wheel of like
Right.
like of water. Like
Right.
like the old school, it picks up water and it helps perpetually. If that wheel stops, the economy just it's gone. So the money needs to keep flowing. Water is the money.
Yeah.
Money is the water.
I had a 3.75. They lowered it to a 3.125. There was no credit check. There was nothing like that. It was just, they just, sent it to their underwriters for a loan modifications, and then that's the terms they came back with. And I didn't really there's no negotiation on it. There's no, can I do, a 30-year or a 20-year or 50, it was just whatever they came back with, that's what you get. And then they rope all the payments that I didn't do for that, time that I was on forbearance. Yes, it does get wrapped back into the loan.
Yeah.
But again, so essentially it only sets me back 1 year on my loan because I didn't make payments. So not a big deal.
Yeah.
But
and that's the cool thing. Like it allows you to stay and keep in your house. Like these lenders, and the first market and the secondary market and the economy itself does not want another 2008 crash, and that's not going to happen. Like we've learned from that. We're doing things a lot smarter these days. They know that people need to and have a right to be able to work. No one's fault that the pandemic happened. So to hurt people is really foolish because it ultimately hurts the economy.
Correct.
And if you want to refinance, but you don't have the money, the cool thing is that a lot of these lenders and service providers, they'll roll in the closing costs into the loan itself. So you could have a closing cost of say $5,000.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it, they'll roll it right in. They'll roll it right into it. And honestly, you're going to make that money. That's what I'm talking about, like recoup costs.
Right.
So how long is it going to take to recoup that $5,000 and start saving?
So yeah, and in the grand scheme of things, $5,000 is not really a whole lot of money if you're going to be in the house for the next 10, 15, 20 years, because the amount of interest that you're going to save is going to be well more than $5,000. So it's actually, whenever we're ready for it, I've actually got a spreadsheet that we can play with some numbers here, and you can see the difference between...
Bust it open.
All right, let's do it. Let me throw it up on the screen here. Let's see. Screen 1.
How's that As you're pulling that up, how's that whiskey?
It's super smooth. It's
Super
really
smooth.
really good. Yeah.
It's because it's watered down.
It but still it's got a little bite to
But
it,
still,
but I mean it's what is it? It's still 40%. So what does that make
that's
it
not
like
bad.
90 proof? Isn't that how that works? Or 80 proof? It's
Um,
double the percentage.
80,
Yeah, so I
80
mean
proof.
40 plus 40 is 80, right?
Yeah.
Somebody in the comments let
Yes.
us know.
That's what this is. Actually, it's written out right here. So I had to pull up mine. So mine's 40%, which is 80 proof. So
Yeah.
I
I
think
don't
you're right.
know
It's
if
double.
somebody watching can get a calculator and add that up for us. 40 plus 40 and let us know.
Took 10 years for us to decide to refinance. We did it to revamp inside. Nice. There you go. So you did a cash out refi, Derek?
I don't think
Uh,
he can respond right away.
Maybe not, but it'll give it a
Um,
second. But
but
see,
yeah,
that's smart right there. That's another great reason why. If
yep,
you intend on staying to a house for like another 10 years,
yep,
that right there, bring it up to code, redo your
yep,
kitchen, your
yep.
bathrooms, fix the roof, redo the plumbing, HVAC system. Like at the
And
end of this, I have a kind of a monologue at the end of this
yeah,
of the whole takeaway, and
okay,
I'll get into that at the end here.
all right.
But what
And
were you gonna say, Jeff?
I actually talked to Derek. So yeah, that's kind of what they did. Is they took out money and they redid their roof. They updated their kitchen. I think they knocked down a wall to kind of open up some space from the kitchen
Nice.
to like the living room. So I mean
That's awesome.
they did a pretty good transformation just by doing the refi, and at the same time, so they got that money, but then their payment went down a little bit, and I mean it was just basically a wash. They got the money.
Yeah,
It was a win-win-win for everybody,
100%.
and
See,
so
that's smart.
and
That's great.
the value of their house now has gone up because it's updated, and they weren't any money out of
Yes.
pocket. So they
Yep.
just basically earned a return on their house, increased by increasing the value,
Yep.
and without essentially doing anything.
Yep. Derek just
Let's see.
responded.
Yep.
Did it
Yes,
cash
cash
out?
out, but put it
Put it back
back
in the
into the
house.
house.
Perfect.
And don't lie,
I love it.
you probably, you guys did some sort of little vacation too, I'm sure. I mean, you can't pull out some money and not do something fun.
Sure,
Like
you
you bought
can.
something, or four-wheeler, dirt bike, or something. Come on,
Hey,
Derek.
Jared, don't air out his laundry. What are you doing,
I'm
man?
just no, I'm not airing it out. I'm just come on. It's I mean
How
that's what
can you
I would do.
not?
I would
How can you not?
if I did the cash out. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't know, get some new rugs for the house, go out and buy some go buy some toys after that.
There you
Go buy a
go.
new four-wheeler, go buy a
I like
boat.
it.
I don't know.
So, here's a question that I had. Like, are there
Yeah.
ways to save on the refi? Like, are there some things you can provide that'll give you credit to lower your refinance cost? And there is. And if you have purchased within 3 years, it's a question for the lender as well as the title company or the lawyer, whoever is doing the closing or handling the title work of the
Hmm.
property. There are essentially, in my opinion, four things that will help you in a refinancing. The biggest one that'll save you probably the most money is the owner's policy. What
Yeah.
you're When you got the deed back from being recorded, you should have also been given your owner's policy. The owner's policy will save you a couple $100 on the actual closing of the refinance. The owner's policy, a survey. I like to recommend providing a survey because title company and maybe the lender who's doing the refi needs one on record. Go
Hmm.
ahead and do that. If they require a survey, if you have it on hand, you just saved yourself about $500.
Yes.
And then the deed, a copy of the deed, although they can pull it from the county records, providing that might be able to kind of save you something. Just depends on your relationship with the title company or lawyer. And then they can get this themselves, the title company, but current mortgage payoff statement. And all of this information is all that you're doing is just kind of help feeding the beast and the cycle of refinancing.
Hmm.
But some of these things can actually save you some money. And then also, depending on how far back you've paid or what your current mortgage is to what it is now worth, you might be able to get an appraisal waiver, and that'll save you another $500 to $750.
Yeah.
So that's something you should look into as well. Just have that question and ask those questions to whoever your loan service is, as well as the title company. Say, hey, is there any information that can help me give a discount? Is there anything that you need that I can probably give to give me a discount? And then ask those questions, and they'll tell you, so, well, if you have a copy of your owner's policy, yeah, I got that. Boom.
Right.
You just probably saved yourself some money right there.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, for me, the appraisal, it's good to save money on that. I don't know. I kind of like to know. I kind of like getting the appraisal. It's fun for me. It's I have somebody come into my house and tell me what I have. That it's because I always I always think it's worth so much money, and because it's my house. So, but I like to have a realistic idea on what my house is worth. It's always fun to know.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to take a look at that?
Oh yeah. Pull it up.
Yeah. So.
All right. So no, do a whole screen. Get rid of us if we can. That way, people, because there's there's entirely too much numbers. We need people to see this, and if you could zoom in on that a little bit more.
Is that good?
What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah.
All right. So
I'm so needy.
This is I know. I mean, come on. People want to see this. Come on.
Why?
I mean, we're just here to talk about it. So this is a spreadsheet that I was working on, and I kind of, still working on it, but I threw some numbers in here. $300,000 loan. Let's say this is your current mortgage. 4.75. Loan term is 30 years. You make 12 payments. You started November 1st, 2019, so you've been paying on it for 2 years now, essentially. No extra payments. So here's what your scheduled payment would be. This doesn't include your mortgage insurance if you have it, or homeowner's insurance.
So that's principal and interest right there.
Yes, and your taxes. So this is just your principal and just your interest. So don't confuse that, because I've seen that happen with people where they look at their principal and interest and they're like, hey, that works. I can do that. But then they forget that you got to pay, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in taxes every year, and so that's taken out monthly. And then you have homeowners insurance, which could be $100 a month, could be $500 a month, depending if you got to have flood insurance, hurricane insurance, all this different kind of,
as well as the size of your house,
and the size of your house, and all that kind of stuff. So again, this is just your principal and interest. So $1,564. Let's see, number of payments. So this is a 30-year loan, as we said over here. And so 360 payments is what you're going to do. 12 times 30. Let's see. So your total interest here is going to be almost just over $263,000. Yeah.
Look how much you're literally paying $263,000 on the interest.
Yes.
Interest. And what's your loan amount? $300,000.
This is a $300,000 house, and you're paying almost $300,000 in interest.
Yep.
So you're buying that house twice during a 30-year mortgage. Yes. Indeed.
Vomit.
JDA Florida Homes is not a lender, but I just put my name there. So don't call me for a loan, because I don't have that kind of money to.
You guys.
But
incredible what you guys do.
I know it is. So, and then this down here, this information is the what's the word I'm looking for? Amortization
schedule. Can you blow it back up for people to see? Because right now we want to kind of focus on that principal and that interest column.
Let's see, principal and interest. So I don't. Let me see.
No, because we got us down at the bottom. No, we got.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, get rid of that.
Yep, there we go.
All right. Now focus on the interest and the principal. If we can center the screen here.
Right here. Let me move this over. So I highlighted it here. It's these two right here.
Yep.
So your principal. So look at this. Your principal, you're paying $377. Interest. Look at that number. $1,100.
Maddening.
That's like three times.
Maddening.
Three times. So what that means is when you
It's
make that payment
robbery.
of $1,564, you're only paying that first month $377 towards your actual $300,000. The rest of it, that's going into the bank's pocket, not towards your actual $300,000 home, into the bank's pocket. 1187. Let's.
I call it robbery.
Indeed. So I'm gonna scroll down, and we're gonna see where these numbers start matching up. We're still not there.
Right there.
Where is it?
Go up just a little bit.
So about right here.
Boom.
On line 200. Let me scroll over, see what payment that is. So that's on payment 184. What is that? 184 divided by 12. I'm not going to do math on this show.
I got you. Hold on. I got a calculator.
So 184. 184. So you're just now
15 years. Like I said.
15 years. Okay, so 15 years. You're just now starting to get to where you're paying more onto your principal than you are to the bank. How crazy is that?
It's robbery.
It is.
It's robbery. But that's how this is. A lot of people say this is robbery. Even I say it's robbery. But these lenders have to accumulate money in order to generate the money to pay for these things. Because think about it. If you're a buyer who's only putting 5% down, that the lender is putting 95% down. If he doesn't have that money, they can't help you buy that house. So how are they going to do that? They're going to go ahead and collect majority of the interest rate up front. And on top of that, they're going to sell your loan to the secondary market.
Yeah.
And that's how the money flows. And without that money flowing, then they can't help people buy the house.
Correct.
And that's just the nature of the beast. It makes perfect sense. At the same time, I hate it.
Yeah.
Is that the time? Yeah. Go ahead. What's the comment for Greg?
So Greg, I'll put it up here, but so Greg Meyer, he's one of our mortgage brokers that we work with quite often.
Hey, that's my mortgage guy, Greg, right there.
Yes. So if you need something, Greg, post your info in the comments. So if somebody does need some info on getting a refinance or buying a house or something like that, give Greg a call, because I mean he'll work it out for you.
Okay.
But anyway, so I didn't really think about this side, but he said adjustable rates, always popular with investors when they have a potential to outperform a fixed rate. But with the rate so low, why take the risk if not needed? So that's kind of what we were saying before, is, the regular rates are so low, it's hard to do one that may stay low and it may go up. You don't know, so why not just lock in something that is already set in stone? It's low, it's not going to go up unless you refinance. But yes, I agree. Investors like those adjustable rates because they're usually in it for the short term, so they want something that's gonna maybe fluctuate, or they don't really care if it's gonna fluctuate.
Yeah,
it's kind of what I'm thinking.
It's definitely a more for a question more nuanced for Greg than what we can explain at this time. Right. Yeah. But Derek asked an important question: is that the time the lender sells your mortgage? And before we got into Greg's comment, we were talking about the secondary market. So yes, that is pretty much the time. Majority of the time, especially mortgage brokers, a lot of lenders will actually, by the time you close on your loan or close on your home, your loan has already been sold to the secondary market. And that's where they get their money, and they're able to continue to do so. So you could say close with, the mortgage firm. And this is actually what happened to us. Like, we closed with the mortgage firm, who is the direct lender. And then they pretty much, within 2 months of actually closing on the home, we got a letter from Loan Care that went ahead and bought our loan, and they are now our service provider. And your loan could be sold multiple times during your time there. And when that happens, when your loan is sold, and you get that mail, contact your current loan provider. Don't contact the number that's on the mail. Contact the number that you like. Go online. And so for me, if I got a letter in the mail that says Wells Fargo is now handling my my mortgage loan, then I'm gonna call loan carrier and say, hey, I got a notice in the mail. It says that Wells Fargo is now my loan servicer. Is this correct? And they're going to say yes, or they're going to say no. We actually still own your mortgage. We didn't sell it. So that right there was a scam. So you have to be very careful because scammers are getting really good at this right now.
And it'll look like just it'll look exactly like it came from a particular
from them,
Wells Fargo,
from loan carrier,
whatever loan carrier. And they'll just have a different phone number that you're calling the scammer.
Or a PO box.
Or next thing you know, you're giving them your social security number, your date of birth. You're giving them all this information for them to basically steal your identity. So yeah, you definitely, whether it's an email, a letter in the mail, whatever it is, I'm the same way. I go to the actual website and look up the phone number for the company that's being portrayed in that email or in that letter. So yeah, you gotta be careful with that kind of stuff. We got some more comments here.
So Derek, we closed with Trustco, and we were told they want to sell the loan. Well, they have the right to sell the loan because they're the pretty much like the note holder for the most part. So you just need to ask them who you're selling it to.
Right.
Just ask them who they're selling it to,
Yeah.
and then just kind of be on the lookout for the mail coming in.
Yeah.
And after like 2 weeks, you haven't received anything, go ahead and reach out to Trustco and ask for a point of contact for that because you haven't received anything.
Right.
And then they might refer you to whoever they sold it to, and then contact them. Say, hey, I am Derek Allison. I'm the owner of so-and-so. I was told that you guys are servicing my loan. And then they'll just kind of verify that for you and make sure you're all set up. That way you're not missing any payments. And that escrow is still good. Your payment is still the same.
Yep.
They can't change your terms unless it's already baked into the contract. Bless you. Whoever sneezed. And so yeah, just verify that everything is still good to go and that you can make your next payment to that new service provider, or if it should be done with Trustco.
Yeah, and it's not a big deal if they're selling your loan to another lender or something. So it's not something to be worried about, but it is something you got to pay attention to as far as just give them a call so you know who you're dealing with. Yep. And if there's anything different about, because each bank is going to be a little different. Your terms, like Chris said, is going to be the same, but there may be some different payment options or things like that may vary from bank to bank. So you might even have to set up like a new automatic payment if you had that set up before, or you're going to have to mail a check into a different address. So the best thing to do is, if it's been sold, just get in touch with whoever it was sold to, and just make
just
sure
continue as normal.
Yeah, it's just business as usual.
It is business as usual.
So, well, let's jump back onto this thing real quick. So we were looking at 184 months. So what did we say? It was like 15 years, right? So
yeah, just like how I said earlier, and there are programs out there, and sometimes your own loan provider, depending on how well their back office is, where you can see how much more you can pay extra, per month or over a year. And there's some really good strategies out there. If you did a payment and a half extra, so 13 and a half months instead of 12 months. So what you do is you take that extra payment and then a half of it, and then you divide it by 12. And then that's how much more you will apply to principal per payment. And you can actually reduce your 30-year into about a 20 to 22-year loan. So you can knock off about a good 7 years off of your mortgage just from doing an extra payment and a half per year.
Right.
And then there's a program that just came out that I'm affiliated with. Jared's affiliated with. It's called HomeBot, and it is an amazing program. We can set up anybody who wants to be on that,
Yeah.
and you can see what your mortgage balance is. You can see how the market is trending. You can see how your property does on a short term or a long term investment for a rental strategy. So short term being like Airbnb style. And then you can also see what kind of mortgage or refinance options there are. So if you wanted to see how much money you could save on a refi of let's say a 5-year, 5/1 arm, or a 20-year or 15-year mortgage, you can do that. And it'll actually break it down. It is an amazing user-friendly program. And you can actually see how much money over time you can save on interest, and that's the biggest thing that I look at.
Yep.
And in fact, if you want to give me just a second, I'll show you what it looks like. I'll pull up mine.
All right. Well, while you're doing that, I'll jump back onto the spreadsheet because I've got a couple things here that so what I'm looking at. So I have the current mortgage, what we talked about before, $300,000, 4.75. So we'll look at, and we started paying on it November 2019. So let's go to November 1st, 2021. Our remaining balance on our principal, we've only paid about $10,000 off of the principal, so $290,000. So let's say we're going to refinance. So we're going to refinance for 200. We're going to refinance at $290,000. I'm not taking into account mortgage fees and loan fees and all that kind of stuff. We're just kind of going flat numbers here. What kind of interest rate should we call it? You want to call it a
do three? That's common right now.
Okay, so 3-year. We're going to do it for another 30 years. 12 payments a month. We're starting on November 1st. So look at your payment. Your payment has
just reduced
from, what was it before?
1564.
Actually, I have it. You can't see that one as good. So it was $1,564. So you've dropped it about $340. So that's pretty significant.
That's really significant.
The thing to keep in mind is you were 22, 25. So you were 2 years into this mortgage. All right. So you had a 30-year. So now you're extending it again for another 30 years. So essentially you're going to be paying on this loan for 32 years now if you refinance it after 2 years into a 30-year loan. But what the key thing is, so look at my total interest now just by lowering it from a 4.75 down to a 3.0 interest rate. My new total interest is $150,000.
Isn't that amazing?
$150,000 from $263,000. So then here's, if you want to get a little bit more deep into this. So if we go and we look at this line, this is where we decided to refinance this cumulative interest. So let's call it $30,000. Let's say we've paid $30,000 in interest already for the 2 years that we've been paying on this mortgage. All right. So we go to refinance. We take that 30, and our new loan, we've already paid $30,000. Our new loan is only going to cost us $150,000. So essentially, we're only paying $180,000 on the life of this loan. Whereas if we didn't refinance and we kept this 4.75 interest rate, we're paying $263,000. That's another $80,000 if you decided to not refinance at all and get a lower interest rate.
And just before you switch screens, go back. Look at that principal and interest on that first screen. So, right there. Principal and interest.
Yep.
$405 versus $1,100 in interest. Now go ahead and refinance it.
Yep.
$479
this
to
is on
$700. That's
day one.
Day one. See,
let's look at day one real quick.
Go to day 15. Or sorry, year 15. I was gonna say go to year 15.
What was it? 100?
It was like 125.
Yeah, somewhere right here. So
look at that.
That took you 186 months to almost get about the same. Whereas this one, you're not that far off. Let's see where it matches up.
Almost there, right there.
Right here. So on month 83. So what's that? 7 6 7 years.
About that.
Yeah. So 6 or 7 years versus 15 years.
Was that 84 or whatever divided by 12? So 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years
7 years.
instead of 15. You
Yes.
started paying more on your principal, so you can
Yep.
kind of start seeing. It's not just, hey, I want to refinance. You actually got to look at the numbers. You may already have a good rate, and there's no reason to finance, or you may be doing it for the wrong reasons or something like that. So these are the kind of things that I look at when I refinance. These are the kind of things if I'm helping a client who's
Yep.
talking about refinance, I'm going to take this spreadsheet and I'm going to show them, hey, here's the hard numbers. You can't,
Hmm.
there's not. That's going to be the easiest thing to make you understand
Yep.
whether it's good or not. And and like I said, Chris and I can help you, walk through these numbers, but to get more detailed and stuff like that about what the loan's actually going to cost, what your interest rate would be. This is just all speculation. I mean,
Yep.
it could be 3%, it could be 2.99 as Chris got.
It could. I don't care if your interest rate is say 5% and you get it down to like a 3/4.
Right.
That what's the word I'm looking for? That pretty much what Jared just showed you still
Mm-hmm.
applies. Like
Mm-hmm.
the amount of money you're going to be saving over time is going to be so astronomical.
Yeah.
It's they want to show you what the front line is. So it's almost like shiny object syndrome. It's just like, look at the birdie, and here's
Right.
what's really happening over here. So it's like you really have to look at things long term. And Jared, am I able to share my screen? Because it's X'd out.
No. Oh. If you click on it, it doesn't work.
Okay.
I don't know.
No, it can. Hold on. Let's see here. Chrome tab. Yes, okay, I can.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and show everyone a home buy, and we can set you up on this program. Just contact one of us, and we have access to be able to show you this. So this is home buy, and it's brought to you by Greg, who is an awesome man, and my mortgage guy with the mortgage firm. So here's my estimated value of my home. I can see what my current mortgage is right through here. All right. And then it can scroll down and I can see what's important now. For home insurance, 30-year refi could save around $67 a month. But I already know because I'm going through that right now. It's about $189 a month is what I'm saving.
Yep.
And then here's what I've paid so far. Look at that. Towards principal, $7,702 versus $14,000. And I bought this house in February of 2020.
Right.
And I've already paid $14,000 in interest. That rips my heart out. It's so aggravating.
I know.
It's very, 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 very frustrating.
It is.
So check this out. So here's that fixed rate. You can see what it does. And it'll actually breaks it down like what long-term savings, but the payment might go up. Here's a 10-1 arm. Risky after 10 years. Payment might go down. Here's a 7-1 arm, and etc. It shows more options. And here, check this out. If I pay just $150 more each month, I can save 5 years off my loan and save $30,000 on my mortgage. And you can just play with it. So, okay, what if I did an extra $400? Done in 11 years. That's how much money I can save.
Yeah.
And it just kind of continues right there. This is an amazing program. It really is. And so here's what I was telling you about. Like, so a short term, if you rented your home on Airbnb, how much could you potentially earn? And it requires more research than this. So you do a monthly rate or a nightly rate or a number of nights, and you can see how it works. And then you can manipulate it. And you can just kind of see from there, like how much is saving you. So, enough branding and advertising on that. But at the same time, I see you reached out to Derek what your interest rate is, and he can go. Nice.
Yeah, I was curious to see what he got. He told me at one point. I can't remember. I'm trying to see if I can find what he had sent me at one point. I know it was pretty significant, and and not. So when most people want to refinance, I mean, I typically, rule of thumb, I would look for about 1%. I mean, even if you can get a little bit less, then that's okay. But you just got to, as we've been saying, you got to crunch the numbers to see if it's going to be worth the time and the fees and everything. But I would say at least 1%. If you can knock off 1%, then that's probably going to be good. What'd you say yours was before?
3.25
Okay.
interest rate, and it's going to go down to 2.99.
Okay.
So when Bethany and I had this discussion, we knew we were going to stay in this house or keep this house forever. All right. And that's just the start of our investment. Our long-term investment was this house. And we knew that no matter what, we wanted to at least break even on the interest rate, but we wanted to get rid of that mortgage insurance premium, because that right there was going to be a money saver. If you can get anything that's saving money, if you have an FHA loan, get out of the FHA loan and go into a conventional refi and just get rid of that mortgage insurance premium, because that right there is a real pain in the butt, and it's a real stupid fee. And I hate it. A lot of people hate it. And so if you can just refi and get the same interest rate, you're already saving yourself money,
Right.
just from getting rid of that. Okay.
Yep.
So
I just found so I'd asked Derek what he got on his interest rate. So he went from, I found from a 4.6 to a 2.65.
yes.
Yes. So,
Oh my God. That's what I'm talking about, Derek. I'll cheers to that. Everyone raise your glass to Derek right there.
Cheers.
You just saved over 2%, man.
Oh yes. That is,
congratulations, sir.
That's huge. I would love to run the numbers and show you. I mean, we've been doing this for a while, but you can run the numbers and look at
no. Bust that open.
You think so?
It's so. Oh yeah, just run the numbers. It doesn't necessarily matter what his loan is.
Right.
We don't need to air that much laundry. So just put up the
So let's go
pull up that, because all you're doing is changing the interest rate of that.
Yep.
And you can just see it. So he was at you said
4.6.
Yep.
So we'll use the same numbers except the interest rate 4.6.
Yep.
So it's about what we were looking at before, $253,000.
All right.
And you refinance to a 2.65. $130,000. $130,000. This is
congratulations, Derek.
This is on a $300,000 loan.
Yeah. So if it was less,
literally saving 50%. They're almost 50%.
More.
253 to 100
to 130.
So yeah. So about you pretty
$170,000.
Yes. Yeah. It's insane.
Great job, Derek. Congratulations, man. Really happy for you.
That's awesome.
I love seeing that. And what's even greater is that he's investing it back into his property, and that's increasing his value, which is in turn increasing that equity position even more. And I couldn't be happier for him.
Yep. And then
good job, Derek.
So my parents are watching as well, so they sent me a text message. They just refinanced from a 4.375 down to a 2.99. So that just kind of goes to show you, right now these interest rates are super, super low.
It's great.
I mean, so when I first bought my house, my first house back in 2014, I had a 4.75, and that was the norm. I couldn't even imagine a less than a 3% interest rate. And, at 4.75, I was like, hey, that's pretty good. And I'm sure when it was up higher, in the 5 or 6% range, people looking at, getting those rates are like, hey, that's pretty good. That's what you're at.
That was the norm.
Now we're at sub 3. I mean, and that's on a 30-year mortgage. If you start doing, 20-year, 15-year mortgages, I mean, you're going to get those 2.65 number figures. Yeah.
And you're going to get that. If you do a 15-year, my brother did a 15-year, and his rate went down and his payment still went down. So if you guys are thinking about, refinancing, reach out to somebody,
right,
to do it.
Just don't, or don't have the conversation with yourself. Have it with somebody
Someone
who
else.
with that's in the industry, whether it's an agent, Chris, me, or any agent that you know. They
The
should
loan
be able to
care.
point. They should be able to point you in the right direction if you know a
Yep.
mortgage broker, or just look up one. And they're
We
gonna.
have a bunch. Like
Yes, they're.
Jared and I have vendors. Greg Meyer.
Yeah,
We have others on hand if you want to
yeah,
shop around and actually have someone trustworthy. Believe me, there are 23 licensed agents in the Central Florida area. I'm pretty sure one of them who's
yeah.
gonna know somebody
Right,
who's a mortgage broker. All right, so
right.
contact your friends, contact us. It doesn't matter. Contact your loan provider, like your
Yeah,
current loan servicer.
yeah.
Okay,
And it
so
it it doesn't even have to be an agent. I mean, like you kind of hit it on the head. Just it could just be anybody, because when you start talking about it, the person that you're talking to might know a little bit more than you do, or you start. It's one of those things, you start bouncing ideas off of each other, and you're
yep.
like, hey, that is a good idea, or no, you know what, that doesn't make sense. Until
Mhm.
you hear it out loud. That's it's one of those kind of things. It's until you start talking about it, you hear it out loud, and you're like, yeah, maybe that is a good idea. Then you take it to the next step.
Yep.
So
I think we should. I would like to do one monologue,
yeah.
and then we can end it here because it's almost 9 o'clock.
So are you auditioning for something, or what's going on here? Are you
No,
going on TV? What I don't.
so we stick to kind of a script on the back end and like pretty much some key takeaways or key points that we want to kind of hammer. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of got into a little final takeaway, a little bit of a tangent here, so I'm just essentially going to kind of read off of it if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
And so, okay, so here's my monologue. Owning a home is a right every human being has and deserves, right? Although we grow emotional attachments to our homes, it should also always be considered as a business decision that will either cost you money or make you money. As time goes on, we should always constantly be reevaluating our housing for growth, depreciation, or for leverage. And right now is the time to reevaluate for refinancing if you have an FHA loan, bought a year or more ago, and have an interest rate of 3.25 or higher. This is a good time to refi and drop the mortgage insurance premium, get rid of that, and reduce your payment. Another solution, if you have longevity in your current home and have a ton of equity and interest rate of over 3.25, this is a good time to leverage a cash out refi to use the additional cash to make repairs or upgrades to the home. All right. And if you don't need it, so say if you bought the house cash and you've lived in it for 20 plus years and you don't have any loan whatsoever. All right. So if you don't have any of it, but you have debts and you want to invest into another property, it you can go ahead and do what's called a Heloc. I mentioned this earlier in the film, or not film, but earlier in the podcast or whatever this is. So a good time. So the if you want to do a HELOC is essentially a home equity line of credit. Banks and credit unions is where you need to go for those. You can't really contact your mortgage provider or your loan servicer or another broker. You pretty much need to go to a bank or a credit union. And to my understanding, credit unions are typically better for HELOCs. And essentially, if you own a home outright, you can essentially lend against your home for very low interest rates, because interest rates for a HELOC is around 1% to 2.5%. So it's extremely low. So you can use that money. You can go ahead and take it out for upgrading the home, pay off debts, spoil yourself, or go ahead and what I recommend is to invest into another property.
Yeah.
So, or use the money however you wish.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions, this is what we're here for, because we're a people of the public. We're licensed by the state, and all we want to do is essentially see people grow. So
Yeah.
that's it for my monologue.
Man,
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
that was beautiful, man. I think I almost cried a little.
Did
There
you?
was like some ups and downs, and then it came all together at the end. That was nice.
I needed to.
That was really nice.
I'll go ahead and pour myself another one just for that.
Hey, cheers to that, man.
Cheers to that. Hold on, sir. I'm going to raise
well,
the glass.
thanks everybody for watching. I've got a couple more things to cover, so don't turn it off just yet. But let's do a
Okay.
cheers.
Cheers. And cold beers or neat whiskey.
Oh, you know what we didn't talk about?
Mm.
What is a dram?
I just discovered this.
Yes.
Or actually, you told me about this. So,
yes.
Cheers, Derek, and cheers to everyone else who've been a part of this.
Yeah.
Before you get into a dram, Greg is celebrating his father's 70th birthday. So, happy birthday, Greg Sr.
Number 78.
Number 78.
So, a dram. So, when we were talking about some show notes, I told, or part of what I was writing in the, and you can see it in the description. And I said, grab yourself a dram of whiskey. And Chris is, what's going on?
I was like, what is a dram?
So it's actually something I learned when I was over in Scotland. And, we went to the bar, and one of the guys was like, hey, you want a dram of whiskey? And I didn't know what it was, but then I soon learned what it was. And it's actually a measurement. And it comes from, So it's like an eighth of an ounce is, so back when whiskey was really expensive and everything, you would get like an eighth of an ounce of whiskey, which was a dram. So when you go into a bar, you'd say, give me a dram of whiskey. Now, nowadays it equates to like 25 or 30 milliliters, whatever that comes out to. So a few ounces of whiskey in your glass. So now if you walk into a bar, you ask for a dram of whiskey, and it's just the standard way that they ask for whiskey over there. So you say, give me a dram of whiskey. So that's what a dram is. So if you're a whiskey drinker, you should know what a dram.
I had no idea what a dram was until tonight, and I love it because like you said, like whiskey was very rare at the time. So that was their unit of measurement, was a dram. And think of it as a very sophisticated shot, a very rare, less than a shot. Like it's not even an ounce. Like it's, what'd you say it was? 25 to 35 milliliters. It's nothing.
That's what it is. That's what it is now. Before it was, an eighth of an ounce is 3.5 milliliters, which is like, it's like a couple of sips, and that's about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was so, that's probably one of the reasons why it's so strong,
Yeah.
Because it was so rare, it went a long way.
If you're only drinking an eighth of an ounce, it's not very much.
No, nothing at all.
All right.
I think it's a great way to, that's a great way to wrap it, man.
Yeah. Well, real quick, while I still have everybody, if you haven't ended the show, if you want to find out what I do, if you want to see more episodes, you can follow me on Facebook. You can go to facebook.com, JDA Homes, or you can find me on YouTube. The easiest thing is just go to YouTube, search JDA Florida Homes. I've got some videos, some market reports I do every month. I've got a new one coming up. I won't get it done tomorrow, but I'm going to try to have it done by the end of this week and posted up there. I do various counties through the state of Florida.
You better not be doing anything tomorrow but eating turkey, sir.
That's what I'm saying. And then, Chris, what do you got? You got social media?
Deadpool. I got Deadpool.
All right.
So you can find me on Facebook, the Noon Group. You can also find me on Instagram. I am very heavy in Noon Group or Instagram.
Okay.
You can also find me there on the Noon Group. My YouTube, I do have older videos. My content in terms of video making needs to get better. So I'm not as prevalent as JDA Homes. But both of us, I got to start somewhere, right?
That's right. That's right.
But you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I am on YouTube. So we're here to help out, man. We're members of the public.
And don't forget to, when you see it, like it, subscribe to it. So that way you get some alerts when we put out new awesome podcasts, Whiskey with an Agent like this one.
And it's no set date. We don't do it on a regular.
No, just watch for updates. And well, that's the best reason to get the alerts. So then when we do go live, it'll come up on your phone. And then that way you can start watching. You can have a drink with us. You can learn a little bit about real estate or whatever we're talking about today was refinancing. At some point, we're going to talk about what's going on with Zillow
Yes,
Zillow
we will.
is in the tank. I mean, they are not doing good at all.
No, and there's some
Um,
other ones such as OfferPad, who's probably a billion or so in the hole.
yeah.
So they might be the next one to fold. So
Yep.
we actually have a special guest joining us, our own Kelted realtor in the Winter
Yep.
Springs area, James Evans. He is an
Yep.
amazing man. He is literally a genius, a level
Yes.
IQ.
Yep.
So when I hear this man speak, I listen to him a
Yep.
lot.
Yep.
He is a brilliant man, and we work with him on a regular.
Yep.
So
So look for that one in the next week or so. But until then, man, happy Thanksgiving, Chris.
happy
Thanksgiving,
Thanksgiving,
everybody.
Jared.
And I appreciate everybody watching. And if you haven't watched it yet, man, I hope you make it to the end if you're watching it later, because it's a really awesome ending.
Well, right now we're sounding like that phone call that is just like you. It's like, okay, thank you, have a good one.
Yeah.
All right, talk to you
Yeah,
later. All right, yeah,
most
we'll
of-
circle around and then we'll get back with you. Okay.
Most of the viewers right now,
Sure.
they have their mouse right over the end or the close
No, it's
button or
gone.
whatever.
It's gone.
It's already gone. Okay.
It's already
We're
gone.
just talking. It's just you and I now.
Yep, that's it. And then Derek.
Oh yeah, Derek's still here. He just commented. So,
Yep. All right.
All right. Well,